immediate aftermath of 9/11. We did some things that were wrong. We did a whole lot of things that were right.
We've taken control of the oil in the Middle East, the oil that we're talking about.
Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create.
We choose truth over facts.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. The foothills of the Himalayas.
Television is what people are saying.
We are fighting Satan himself.
Journalists, ask them the question! Ask them! Ask them! Ask them!
Agreed that everybody wants to stay inside. They should. Anyway, my time's up. America's dead.
America is dead, and so is Canada. Canada's doubly dead. It's dead as fuck. Hey, everybody. I am your host, Snow Himbo, for this evening. Big Mad Crab is busy at the Jose Vega fundraiser tonight. So we have a guest co-host, Yeti. Why don't you introduce yourself real quick for the folks who may not be familiar?
Hey, how's everyone doing? I go by Yeti Jesus. You can find me on Twitter. I've been an INN member for about a year now. Actually, maybe 2 years now. I do the Yeti lines on Telegram, which is translations from frontline reporters on both Russian and the Ukrainian side. So, as well as now I've kind of switched over to a World War III as a whole kind of thing. So I'm trying to track all different wars, battles going on right now. See what's going off, what's starting, what's gonna go starting soon, that kind of stuff.
Nice. Yeah, I'm just gonna call it. The reason y'all are seeing a lot of Taiwan content, there's a reason for that. So stay tuned, because the anti-China arc is coming to a war zone near you.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, China's not perfect by any means, but if you take a second and start looking at their society as a whole and some of the advancements they've done, it's quite remarkable.
Holy fuck, they cure diabetes. They cure diabetes. Like, what? Yeah.
Well, and like they have this city, it's called the Forest City. I don't know how to pronounce the name. I think it's Langzhou City. And it's basically the buildings have foliage made into them to grow on them. And then every kind of area has, like, essentially the buildings have trees. And
I've seen that too.
And it's to take away the carbon offset. Because, as we all know, trees take in carbon dioxide, give us oxygen.
Yeah.
Welcome to Professor Yeti.
Which is crazy, because the man on the TV told me that China was a huge polluter and like an enemy of climate change. So it's weird how, like, in reality, that doesn't reflect it at all.
Well, they're the global leader in solar panel technology and solar panel and it's not even they're making solar panel farms. They're now making them shaped like pandas. And they have one that's a koi fish. Like, they're just mocking the West now. Like, oh,
they're just windmill dunking on us.
Have you seen our panda solar farm?
Yeah, they're literally just dunking on us now, and I feel like that's why we're seeing all this, like, because, like, the funniest thing about any article about China is it's like China did this good thing, but then they have to put at the end, but at what cost? Yeah. And never go into detail. They're just like, this is a good thing, but we're gonna reframe it as bad, and that's it. Like that's the whole thing.
China saved humanity, but at what cost? No cost.
At what cost? Well, humanity saved. Here's why that's bad for climate emissions. Like,
yeah.
And I mean, what we're witnessing essentially is we're essentially witnessing the dying of an empire, and everybody's kind of got to come to terms with that. I mean, Canada hasn't yet. Our politicians are
act
still.
accordingly too. Like, I don't think people realize that when shit goes bad, we're talking about food lines going to be going down, gas, all your resources, especially if we switch to a war footing, because then our resources are actually diverted to the war machine. We will suffer at home so that we can bomb people other places. Like, it's absurd if you sit down and think about it.
I mean, this is like the difference, though, right? Because like the West, America and its allies, including its hat up here, it's a war economy. The whole economy is built around fucking war. And with an economy like China, you see what happens when a society doesn't build its economy around war. They do shit like cure diabetes. They're looking to cure asthma now, and they're like they've got cancer on like the back.
Well, they're working on flying cars too. Like they're steps away from commercial flying cars. They are living almost like the Jetsons.
I was gonna say,
I'm here trying to figure out how I can afford gas.
Yeah.
Right. Like and I'm lucky enough to be in a good position now because I actually lost my house a couple of years ago now because of my health. So it's like, but people that like aren't going to be able to afford their homes, the banks are going to make it so there's no, like, what's the word? Like relief systems. Like you're going to try and like turn in your keys and then it's going to be like, no.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's funny too. I'm waiting for that article too, where it's like China invented flying cars, but at what cost? Air traffic. What about that? Like,
what?
Yeah,
and it's like I said, like there's not China doesn't have faults, and there's not things that necessarily I don't agree with their government, but it's also every time I find like look into what they've told me, I look back and it's like you completely lied. Like, not even like some truth, just completely. Even like back in the 80s and 90s, they used to use Sephora filters to make it look like it was more polluted.
Yeah. And I mean, like, listen, everybody who watches this knows I'm a Marxist. I will be the first one to say Marx and Engels were not idealists. They weren't. And I'm not an idealist either. I don't think there's an ideal society. There's always going to be faults and there's always going to be flaws you can point to. But you have to look at the like the bare bones fact of the matter. And the fact of the matter is, what is a government doing for the material conditions of its population? If you guys look at their home ownership versus America's home ownership, or fuck Canada, like if you get it, it's done. Like you're not owning a home in Canada. I'm sorry.
No, it's almost impossible to afford it because the prices have gone up so much, and that's because of banks and corporations essentially working hand in hand to buy up all the real estate, which artificially inflates like the demand versus that kind of stuff, right? And so now you're looking at these huge price increases, and banks are like, oh, but lower interest. Yeah, but I'm paying the same amount I paid for my house in interest. It's ridiculous. It's not a feasible way. Like, just looking at it, you're like, this is not going to be a recipe for anything other than outright disaster and eventually feudalism is what you're going to end up in.
I mean,
own everything, right?
We're pretty close. We're pretty fucking close.
Well, because we're at fascism. Because fascism is the merger of corporation and state against the will of the people. You can look at it. Our government doesn't work for us. So I'm like, it works for the corporations. I'm like, okay, that's fascism, and then we're going into feudalism.
I'm sorry.
People think we're still in like democracy. Like, no, we're way past that.
I'm sorry, like, I feel like the turning point should have been everybody noticing the entire parliament giving a standing ovation to a fucking Nazi. I feel like that should have been the major, like, wake up moment where it's like, oh shit.
I even went on Misty Winston's show on TNT to talk about that.
Yeah, that was
bad.
Okay, like, because this is what that communicated. Because this is like the meat and potatoes of the matter.
Mm-hmm.
They're giving that guy an ovation because he fought against the Russians. What they're not saying is he fought against the Russians because he fought against the communist forces on the other side of that.
Yep.
So, like, if that's the person you're siding with, then you know what your government shit is about.
Yeah.
Like,
well, anyone with basic World War II history knows the Soviets were on our side. People fighting Soviets were aligned with the Axis, who we generally tend to go with the Nazis.
I mean,
generally not the good sides.
The picture of the Battle of Berlin, they're not flying an American flag, guys. They're flying a hammer and sickle. Like, that's what happened. So, like, when your government starts, like, siding on the side of fascism, that's the wake-up moment you should have where you're like, shit, maybe I'm not in a democracy anymore. Which in Canada, you can very easily figure out because the guy who ran on the I'll eliminate first past the post voting suddenly just didn't want to do, like, let's take away first past the post voting. And his logic was, well, now that we're in power, it doesn't matter. That's like, that's like a typical fascist trope.
Well, it's like, we've took power. Maybe we'll just do away with that voting thing.
Yeah, now that we're in office, like, we can't have someone else vote us out of office. We got to do the whole, like, we got to vote for these guys and hold our noses so the evil boogeymen don't get in power.
Vote? What if all those right-wing extremists get out and use democracy? We can't have that.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, speaking back to the housing thing, I mean, we've got... I mean, the funny thing is that it's, like, so similar to the States, too. We got the prominent conservative guy speaking to the housing issue, but he's saying there's not enough houses. He's not saying they're too fucking expensive. He's saying there's not enough houses, so we gotta make more of them. Yeah. And everybody's like fucking soy clapping about it, and I'm like, no, what are you talking about? It doesn't matter if you make a fuckload of... Yeah, it doesn't matter if you make 1 million houses if nobody can afford them. Oh, right, that's right. You're a landlord, and your whole party's a bunch of fucking landlords. So you're just talking... You're just doing you're appealing to the landlord vote, I guess, because you're not appealing to the proletariat here. A lot of proletariats probably will vote for you, but that's because they're painfully misled and they hate Justin Trudeau, as you should.
Yeah. And I think for a long time, it was generally like the more wealthy people that were really more into politics. And now it's kind of starting to switch where you're starting to see like not well-off people, just everyday people that are starting to actually look more into politics. And they realize that it's a scam for the most part. They're like,
I mean, yeah,
it's not working, right? Like,
well,
the
look
rich
at the
will continue to get rich.
Yeah, I mean, look at the voter turnout, and it's the same in the States. Look at, like, the actual voter turnout. This is like, I talk about this constantly, but it's like, holy shit. If more people just looked at how many people just don't vote, they think it matters so little that they don't even want to take time out of their fucking day to do it. Like, they don't even care. I mean, in Ontario here, more people, I'm pretty sure more people didn't vote than people who voted. Nobody cares.
Like down in like the 20% range. Like, it's really bad. And the other thing is, and for a long time, like, I don't like to vote because I'm like, I'm not going to participate in a system that is obviously not correct. So I'm like, that's kind of like my passive. But I'm like, for you people that believe in voting, why are you not getting out and voting? Like, you guys talk about voting. Why does nobody do it? Like, I don't go because I'm opposed to it. Like, I have a reason I don't do it. But all these other people that believe in that system so inherently don't go and vote. It's like, no. I'd have to go for dinner.
Yeah. There's only one vote in the history of me voting that I'm proud of, and that's for Jack Layton. I will stand by the fucking vote forever. God bless him, man. I love him and I miss him.
Yeah, he was like you had previously kind of talked before we got on.
Did my headphones go out? Oh shit. Why did my headphones disconnect? Give me one sec, guys.
Okay.
What the hell happened? I'm gonna have to use my other headphones. Give me 1 second, guys. Sorry about that. I don't know why these died, and I'm mad about it. This is bullshit.
You gotta go put on your big headphones now, sucker.
I just gotta switch the audio here real quick. Do I want to switch?
I agree with Nilo on his comment.
I knew some bullshit would happen.
Her comment, sorry.
No, get out of here. Okay, I think we're back.
All right, cool.
Okay, I can hear you. Sorry about that. Yeah, my headphones.
Verizon commercial? Can you hear me now? How about now? No?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, my headphones decided to take a shit. I'm not sure why, but they did, so I'm using the weird alien looking headphones, but here we are. Okay. But yeah. It's I mean, for people who believe in that system, I don't get why they don't do it. I will always hypothesize though that it's because like even if they claim to be in support of it, they don't deem it enough of a priority for them to actually do it. Because if you do believe in a thing, you're going to set aside time to actually do your civil duty. If you can't like get around to doing that, then why not just come around to the side of like, I don't want to legitimize a system that I don't believe in, because that's what I've always been. I've always been like, okay, but I don't believe in any of this. I don't believe in the voting process of it. I think it's rigged from the get-go because we don't have like a more fair system where it's like you got to vote for the lesser of two evils, and you know, with the left and the right, they both feel like they have to vote for the lesser of two evils. I've talked to a lot of people.
You get politicians that jump in and out of politics all the time. That's not good. That's essentially a recipe for corruption, because they'll go out, get in a really good job, make some friends there, and they're like, oh, it's 10 years later, oh, we need to jump back in politics. All of a sudden, he's making all these really good agreements for his friends that aren't the majority of the voters. So,
yeah,
right? Like it's,
yeah.
I think we need to have a system maybe where if you get into politics, you have to kind of stay in it to work your way up, not jumping in and out, right?
You can't just stay at level 10. You got to go all the way to level 50, because then you get to raid. Am I right, nerds? There's some nerds who are going to get that. It's okay if you don't, though.
I don't even game, and I got that reference.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to hop into our first segment, but I do need to make a disclaimer because we're on YouTube. So, first and foremost, YouTube people, the people watching this video, and to my federal agent, I love you. I hope you take some days off. We here at INN are not making any definitive statements about vaccines or vaccine protocol or anything like that. If you want to get vaccinated and feel protected, you have my blessing. Please do so. All we are doing here is we are reflecting on real life events. And my only big personal gripe with how COVID was handled was focused around the information that was given to us. And we're only going to go by official sources here and kind of critique that. But yeah, my other gripe is how certain factions handled some of the policies surrounding COVID. But we are certainly not making any definitive statements on anything. As always, you know, I'm not a doctor. Yeti, while super informative, I don't think is a doctor either. So at the end of the day, please consult your medical professional who's paid off by Big Pharma. Sorry, I had a bit of a hiccup there. I think it was a tick. Consult your medical professional For any actual advice on anything medical. That's what you should do. Go look this stuff up. Go find the receipts. Do your own research. Or I guess you're not supposed to do your own research now. I can't remember. There's
do not read any books ever.
Don't read. You are not allowed to read. You're going to jail. If you read a book, you're going to jail, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. You start thinking for yourself. That's all over now.
Looks like we got ourselves a reader. Bill Hicks. Yeah, without further ado, we're going to go into our first segment here. This is just, I'm so cynical. This is funny at this point. Okay, so hold on. There's a new thing here. Let me click it. Oh, that's cool. Check that out. Oh, that's fucking sick. Okay. All right. So, without further ado, let's go. So, revealed. Dr. Anthony Fauci confesses he made up COVID rules, including 6 feet social distancing and masking kids. Which I've always been kind of, I don't know about you, I've always been kind of confused about that one, the 6 feet thing. Because, 6 feet is bad, but, 7 feet is okay. Where
is that actual line?
Yeah, what are you getting this from? Because, I remember when this first came into place, I tried to find any, literature, because I'm a bit of a medical nerd. I have, a Merck manual right over here. I don't ever remember this at all being implemented for anything. I don't remember it in any kind of literature. We've never done any of it before. Holy fuck. So, bombshell testimony from Dr. Anthony Fauci reveals he made up the 6-foot social distancing rule and other measures to protect, quote unquote, Americans from COVID. Republicans put out the full transcript of their sit-down interview with Fauci from January, just days before his highly anticipated public testimony on Monday. They plan to grill him about COVID restrictions he put in place that he admitted didn't do much to slow the spread of the virus. Kids learning loss and social
anything.
No, they didn't do shit. I remember this was just Ontario, but I remember our brilliant premier, who I can never say enough good things about our fucking premier, because I definitely don't fucking hate his guts. I actually do. He had to be guys, I'm sorry, but we got to lock down again after locking down the first, I think it was Christmas. I feel like that was what started the trucker thing. The fact that he was sorry, I know everybody's vaccinated and we already locked down multiple times, but we got to lock down again. And everybody was okay, fuck. None of this is working.
Yeah, it's ridiculous because they kept trying to do the same thing over and over again, and it's you're clearly not getting anywhere.
Yeah, you're not I'm just saying this stuff isn't working. So why are we still dying on these hills? Maybe try another strategy, or I don't know, stop implementing these policies if they're not helping to begin with. Just can we have some semblance of fucking some semblance of consistency here, or God. Anyway, kids learning loss and social setbacks have been well documented, with one National Institute of Health (NIH) study calling the impact of mask use on students' literacy and learning very negative. And the impacts from social distancing cause depression, generalized anxiety, acute stress, and intrusive thoughts, also known as what I go in 1 hour of my waking life. Another NIH study found. Speaking to counsel on behalf of the House Select Subcommittee on the coronavirus pandemic earlier this year, Fauci told Republicans that the 6-foot social distancing rule sort of just appeared. What does that mean? And that he did not recall how it came about. I don't recall. It sort of just appeared.
I just started saying things, and that's what happened.
He's like, bro, I was just memeing, okay? I was just, like, you know how it goes? You're just on a, you're like, you do a good
It's
bump and then
amazing.
like, holy shit. He added he was not aware of studies that supported social distancing.
Like it's amazing. It's just like, look, guys, I didn't know what anything I was doing. I'm not even a doctor. I wrote in years ago, back of a comic book. They gave me the doctor. People just kept believing me. I went with it.
He's like, listen, I've been to Second City. Like, oh my god. Conceding that such studies would be very difficult to do. I mean, they might be difficult to do, but do you think that maybe they would be needed for like anything at all? Maybe before you implement something, for example, you might want to base it off anything other than like he's literally saying like, it's just vibes, bro. Like it's just vibes.
Mm-hmm.
In addition,
it's just so bad.
In addition to not recalling any evidence supporting social distancing, Fauci also told the committee's counsel that he didn't remember reading anything to support them masking kids would prevent COVID. Oh my fucking god!
Do you recall reviewing a YouTube video? That's why he didn't read it. It was a YouTube video.
Yeah. Do you recall reviewing any studies or data supporting masking for children? He was asked. I might have. He responded before adding, but I don't recall specifically that I did. The pandemic patriarch. Ooh, I'm sorry. I don't know about you, but I'm kind of a slut for alliteration. That was good. Pandemic patriarch. Also
I do like good word choice.
Yeah, that's good. Also testified that he had not followed any studies after the fact regarding the impacts that forced mask wearing had on children, of which there have been many. And his answer was an ironic COVID-esque pun. I think that's still up in the air. Fauci said about whether masking kids was a solid way to prevent transmission. And there's still like weird Twitter accounts with hammers and sickles that just like parrot masks work over and over again. We'll get into that later because that's an axe I gotta grind. But further, the former director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, NIAID, told the council that he believes the lab leak theory, the idea that COVID began at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, WIV, is a real possibility. I think people have made conspiracy aspects from it, adding it could be a lab leak. So I think that in of itself isn't inherently a conspiracy theory, but some people spin off things from that are kind of crazy. Okay. I don't know about you.
Did they ask him where the funding for the Wuhan lab came from by any chance?
Yeah. I don't know about you, but I remember when the lab leak thing was a conspiracy theory that we couldn't talk about. It's like, no, it totally came from an elephant that cast a magic missile into a bat, and the bat shit out a smaller bat that coughed on like a penguin, and the penguin gave everybody COVID. Like, I remember when that was a thing, where they're just like, no, it couldn't have come from a lab. But yeah, where did the funding come from? And the reality is the funding came from the United States government.
Mm-hmm.
Because of course it did. Now, my big question, my huge question about this is why, and I don't recall a lot of people covering this. Why was the United States doing this kind of research in the country of their biggest rival? And yeah, I'm being intentional with the cynical tone I'm applying that with. Why were they doing deadly virus research in the country that is their greatest threat? The greatest threat to Western hegemony, the greatest threat to the Western world order. Why China of all places?
Oh, it's probably because China doesn't have any rules or anything like that. That's what I've heard. China definitely doesn't have rules and stuff like that.
I'll go on record by saying I think they did fuck up. I think that leaked and they didn't mean to leak it. The scramble afterward definitely like kind of I feel like there was a massive fuck up factor when it came to COVID. I definitely think that.
I think it's probably a good point. I think they had been testing in other places before that as well, possibly in the Denver, Colorado area. If you remember, there was something called vapor lung that came about for a while. Exact same systems as COVID, disappeared after about 6 months.
Oh, is that like
never heard of it? Popcorn lung.
Popcorn lung, right? The thing that you get from vaping that I've never gotten, even though I clearly.
Well, and then they said it was. Then they said it was from Chinese vapes because they must make their liquid must be completely different because the 3 components. There's vegetable glycerol, propylene glycol, and flavoring and nicotine.
Yep,
that's all that's in.
I mean, I've got the ingredients right here. I can show it. Like that's the ingredient. There's nothing crazy in this. It's just fucking like it's the most simple. Like compare that with your average processed food from your grocery store, where you look at the ingredients and it's 5,000 things that you can't pronounce. This is just literally like 3 things.
Yeah. I mean, surely inhaling anything is not good for you per se,
of course.
But it certainly is proven to be. My apologies. Better than smoking.
That's my reason for it. This is the only thing that got me off cigarettes. I tried everything else; it didn't work.
It's actually been around for quite a long time. It was originally, I think it was Japan, in the 80s or 90s. Someone started learning about vaping, and it was to get his father off cigarettes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's helped me. I know it's obviously going to have, it's not going to have the best consequences. It's not as good as just breathing oxygen, obviously, because your lungs are just meant to breathe in air. That's it. They're not meant to breathe in anything else. But I mean, if you just look at like the comparison, it's like, okay, do you want to inhale like vegetable glycerin or propylene glycol, or do you want to inhale like fucking rat poison and cyanide and
burning tar? Some nice carcinogens. Ooh, thank you.
Yeah, like it's kind of a no-brainer. You're going for like a harm reduction policy, not a like eliminating harm sort of thing. But if the only other option is you're going to go back to smoking, fuck yeah, vape it up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it would be vastly better than smoking.
But yeah, the popcorn lung thing was weird because I was reading about that at the time while I was vaping, and I'm like, wait, what? What do you mean? That's I've been I've been vaping for a while and that doesn't happen. I don't get these symptoms. I don't get any symptoms. My sense of smell returned.
Well, very rarely do people seem to. That's why it was very peculiar at the time. And at the time I was vaping to get off cigarettes too. And so I had basically, in order to get my mind to work on stuff, sometimes I just have to get so involved in it. So I learned everything about vaping.
Yeah.
And so when it came out, I was like, that's BS. Right? Like.
Yeah. And it's like, it's weird seeing all these smear pieces because it's like, but I'm vaping. Anyone who's vaping is going to read this and know you're full of shit. It's specific to certain flavoring agents. Earl of Laurel. That's a good point. That's entirely possible. Like if there's some crazy shit in your vape juice, like it's gonna fuck you up, right? But
and there is always gonna be the risk something gets in it. Some people do add additives to cheapen it, but like, vegetable glycerol and PG are some of the cheapest things you can get. There's not much else you can throw in to cheapen it. Like it's just basic. Like economics, it's like there's not really anything you could do to make it cheaper. So
that
makes sense, right?
And also, like, I mean, that makes sense when you're doing something like if you're making like MDMA or something or like like that kind of makes sense because it's like, okay, well, I'll put some like filler shit in because like I'll be able to make more of it and make more of a profit. I get it. But like with this shit, it's like, oh my god, like the cost on this is borderline nothing.
Yeah,
like
it was especially never expensive.
Yeah, like it's nothing. So the risk of like, you would have to be deliberately like, I'm gonna put, I don't know, I'm gonna put oh, what's the what's that poisoning thing Walter White uses in Breaking Bad? What is it?
I didn't actually watch a whole ton of that series, to be honest.
The thing he uses to poison Lydia, I'm trying to remember. Ricin. Yeah, someone's like, I'm gonna put ricin in your vape juice, and it's like that's got to be like an intentionally malicious act and likely manslaughter.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, do you remember like the it's probably almost 20 years ago now, the Tylenol in the States, someone was putting ricin in some Tylenol bottles, and people had died from it.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be like, that's like a freak occurrence. But the way they painted it, they tried to paint it like, if you vape, you're going to get popcorn lung and your heart's going to, like, it was just...
Yeah, everyone's dying.
Uh-huh.
Wait, that sounds like COVID again.
It like, obviously we can't prove this, but like, it reeked of like big tobacco, just like... Spent a bunch of money to run like a smear piece on vaping so they could scare people back into buying their cigarettes. That's all that's all it felt like to me, at least.
No, I think you're correct on that for sure, though. It really was like just fear mongering.
And I still talk to like real life friends of mine who are like, yeah, I really want to get off smoking, but like the popcorn lung. And I'm like, yeah, but the popcorn lung's kind of bullshit. And they're like, no, it's not. And I'm like, yes, I'm right and you're wrong. Just shut up. But yeah. Popcorn lung was discovered. Popcorn lung was discovered at a popcorn factory. The butter flavor becomes toxic when it gets too hot. Interesting.
Yeah. And so there's PG in the butter flavoring. That's where the connection actually came in. That's why they were able to connect the two, right? But it's basically kind of BS, right? So thank you, Earl of Laurel.
Thank you, my dude. Okay, let's continue. The Coronavirus Committee has dedicated months discovering the origins of the virus that upended so many lives and resulted in the deaths of 6 million people globally. Recently, they have discovered that Fauci's former top aide, Dr. David Morenz, routinely conducted work on his personal email account and deleted files to avoid government transparency laws under the Freedom of Information Act. His disregard
hello, Hillary.
Yep. His disregard for FOIA requests was so blatant that he bragged in emails to colleagues that he learned how to make official correspondence disappear and that he would delete things he didn't want to see in the New York Times. Emails from Morenz, uncovered by the committee, further revealed that he boasted about having a secret back channel to Fauci where he could clandestinely communicate with the former NIAID director. That revelation shocked the committee's chairman, Brad Wenstrup, Republican Ohio, so thoroughly that he demanded Fauci turn over his personal email and phone records to the investigative body. Also shocking is Fauci's admission to the committee in January that he never looks at the grants that he signed off on, some of which total to millions of taxpayer dollars. You know, technically, I sign off on each council, but I don't see the grants and what they are. I never look at what grants are there, he told the committee's counsel. Further, he said he was not certain that foreign labs that receive U.S. grant money, such as the WIV, which was studying coronaviruses using U.S. taxpayer dollars at the time the pandemic began, operate at the same standards of American labs. Fauci also said that the money he gave out as part of the NIAID grant process did not go through any national security reviews. Okay. Fuck. Oh my God.
Look, guys, we did absolutely nothing. That's what I'm here to say.
Listen, this virus went out and we just said fuck it and just day drank. Like,
We had cocktail parties and ice cream fridges.
listen, we just played a lot of GoldenEye, and as I'm Dr. Fauci, obviously I had to play Odd Job. He would play Odd Job for sure.
It's fair.
Additionally, the former director said he was unaware of any conflicts of interest among his staff, which included the senior advisor, Dr. Morens. However, Morens testified before the committee on May 22nd that he helped his best friend, Eco Health Alliance president, Dr. Peter Daszak, with his nonprofit's work. Morens said he helped edit press releases for Eco Health and worked to restore grant funding for the nonprofit after its funding was terminated in the wake of the COVID outbreak in 2020. NIH, which employs Morens, funded Daszak's Eco Health to the tune of millions of dollars. Still, Fauci said he was unaware that Morens had any conflicts of interest. The committee will surely seek to clarify Fauci and Morens' secret back channel, wink, sorry I had to, of communication during the June 3rd hearing. So, like,
it would be one of those double wink situations. Just, sorry, you just blinked at me.
Yeah. So that's how down bad we are with how our institutions handled the COVID thing. And I mean, look, at the end of the day, like, we need to criticize this shit because I don't want this shit happening the next time we have a pandemic where all of our leaders and institutional bodies are just fucking winging it. Where they're just like, yeah, YOLO, 6 feet, maybe we'll try like 5 feet distancing, and maybe we'll like put the mask on your head. You can wear the mask on your head so the virus doesn't go into your hair. Like, I don't want to go through this bullshit again. Because as you saw in the article, like, these aren't consequenceless. Having these policies affects real working class people. It affects people and actually kind of fucks them over. So if we're going to make sacrifices, can we at least make them based on like real world fucking things? Can we at least base them on shit that makes sense instead of just like winging it and being like, well, maybe this will work. I don't know. Let's give it a shot. Like, and this is piggybacking on another point I want to make. I don't know about all of y'all, but one of my biggest points of contention when it comes to the pandemic era was it was remarkable to me how many people on the left, the far left, like I'm talking like even like socialists, communists, anarchists, how many people completely betrayed the working class, completely betrayed them in like, I mean, shit, I don't know about you, but I saw a ton of this rhetoric when people were talking about, I mean, shit, my wife lost her job, but a ton of people who were giving valid grievances that they're concerned about is in like, you know, these lockdowns. Well, I lost my job. How many like people on the left were like, well, just get another job. And it's like, yeah, just go get one, eh? Just go redo your entire fucking career. Just like figure out a new path in life because of these policies. Does that make sense to you?
20 years into their careers that they lost. It's completely unacceptable that there's no recourse for those people.
Yeah. And like, yeah, sure, the government up here in Canada did CRB, but that obviously wasn't enough. And it was no recompense for people losing their whole fucking careers, having to like pick a different field to go in. And secondly, that they mentioned later, like, oh, by the way, you owe us that back. So that was a little shitty too.
Well, and even like for some people that actually needed it, like for me during the pandemic, because of my heart transplant, I couldn't work. I stayed hidden basically. They like about a year and a half into it, it was like completely cut off any money whatsoever, and I was just like, all right, I guess I'm screwed.
Yeah. And here's the thing, like if you're a government and you like you're basically denying people the ability to make a living, you have to make up for that. You can't just be like, well, sorry, because of these policies, you're kind of fucked. And in the States, it was even worse. because like in the States, they didn't even have CERB. It was just like, yeah, well, I don't know, figure it out. Sorry, sweaty. And a lot of people lost their jobs. And you saw a lot of people on the left who were like, well, you can just get another job, or small businesses that are like, my small business is going to go under. Like, what the fuck do I do? I'm not allowed to do business. And they're like, yeah, well, maybe go find a job. Shit, my favorite fish and chip place in Etobicoke in Toronto. It's called Viking Fish and Chips. And they went under after the pandemic and they just never came back ever. Like that business is just gone forever. And I know a lot of small businesses that are in the same boat where they're never coming back. That business is just gone. They couldn't recover. And of course they can't recover because the government basically said like, okay, so for months and months and months, like you just can't bring in any revenue because you can't have any customers in, you can't have any business, and we're not going to do anything for you. We're not going to do anything.
And for restaurants, especially smaller restaurants, their money is made in the liquor they sell when you come in to eat and stuff like that too, right? Like that's where the markup is. The markup on food isn't that great. So suddenly having to convert to like takeout, like you said, destroyed them. It just decimated them.
Yep. Yeah, because the restaurant, like going to a restaurant, that's an experience, right? It's not just like food, because if you just wanted to eat food, you could go to the grocery store and make some stuff, or you can just like there's already takeout establishments available. People want to go to a restaurant, it's because they probably are celebrating something, or they want to have a good time, or they want to like, maybe they're meeting up with like a friend, or they got a birthday, like it's a whole experience. And small businesses' whole livelihoods depend on that. And that was just like completely wiped off. Yeah. And the thing that bothers me the fucking most, the absolute most, is that during this whole lockdown thing, who's allowed to stay open? Walmart, big box stores, any large corporation was just immune from these policies.
Yep.
You could go into Walmart just fine. You couldn't go to your local ma and pa restaurant to get a meal.
Yeah.
But you go to Walmart
with 1,000 people in the building.
Yeah, with like 1,000 people in the fucking building, minimal protections. Nobody's really doing anything. Nobody cares. You just go to Walmart, get COVID, bring it home, or go to Walmart with COVID, give it to other people. Like none of this made any fucking sense.
No. And I was okay with the 2 weeks. I actually was like, all right, we'll give them the 2 weeks. That's fine.
Yeah.
But it was like, I was like, caveat, 2 weeks, because then it gives us some time to just kind of like look around, see what's happening, figure it out, and then we can kind of go on from there. But it was like immediately it said 2 weeks. You had some people were like, no, nothing. And then other people were like, just stay home, don't move. It's like, there's got to be some like continuity, but also you have to find a balance between people's different opinions. You can't just go out and be like, oh, they're Nazis. Oh, they're communists. It's like, oh, now we're just name calling. Great.
Yeah, that was the thing too, because they were calling, I remember it, all the conservatives, and I hate this, but COVID was the one era where I agreed with conservatives on more things than I could agree with. But of course, that tracks, because they're always going to be the controlled opposition for anything the other side does. And you guys got to realize this if you don't by now. You have the establishment, and then you have the counter establishment in this like political system, and the ones criticizing the ones in power are always going to do that exact same shit when they're in power. The only issue is that they're not in power, so it's bad. And you'll see this perfect example. All of the Republicans and conservatives that were super critical of the Biden administration, all that for the Ukraine shit, the war in Ukraine, like stop funding them. Why are you sending our taxpayer dollars to Nazis? All that. Okay. They claim to be anti-war. What are they supporting now? They're supporting a genocide in the Middle East. Full-throated. full throat support for genocide in the Middle East.
Oh yeah, they're
full throat
just tossing
support.
everything they can behind that too, and it's just like,
Yeah.
what happened to not murdering people?
What happened to your? What
That
happened
was
to your?
kind of like the standard left ideology was like, we should probably not kill people with bombs. Thank you.
Mhm.
That was like the starting point.
And then I'm like, okay, what happened to the whole like we shouldn't be sending our taxpayer dollars to funding conflicts abroad? Did you guys all forget about that? Did it only apply when it was like the Biden government, and now that it's like your side or whatever, it doesn't apply?
Yeah.
Do you guys
Well,
not have any principles?
I've got a fantastic example, actually. So, when Trump was president, they were doing Operation Warp Speed. Biden, Kamala Harris,
Yes,
all these liberals came out like, oh, I'm not going to trust the vaccine from Trump. Like, Trump was in the laboratory, just out of my way. Big hands, orange, just mixing stuff. Like, yeah, we're making vaccines. It's like, regardless of who was in charge, the scientists were still responsible. I mean, whether they were doing what was correct, well, that's another topic. But it wasn't Trump in the laboratory just mixing chemicals up. Like, it didn't, when Biden suddenly became president, it didn't suddenly just change everything that had happened before. Like, and Kamala's like came out outright was like, I will not take a vaccine by Trump. Like,
the
no one's
funniest
gonna take a vaccine by Trump. He's not making it, you idiot.
yeah, he's not like, oh, we're gonna make the best vaccine. I'm putting some McDonald's in here and some well done steak with some ketchup. Like, that's not what's happening.
Huge
vaccine, biggest vaccine ever, with his who farted face. But like, that's not what. And the funniest part too is like, it wasn't even a different vaccine. He did Operation Warp Speed. Biden took over. Operation Warp Speed was still going on. The whole thing, nothing changed. And then everybody's like, oh, you gotta take the vaccine. And it's like, what the fuck happened to you guys?
Like,
Literally
a week ago, you were saying not to take it.
Yeah. And they were giving like the same criticisms that people who were hesitant were giving, where it's like, I don't know, like, because they were on the news saying like, well, it hasn't been in development too long. Usually vaccines take like years and years. And it's like,
well, like, long-term studies take long term.
Yeah, they take like an actual long term. They don't take like months. They don't take months and then it just like, trust me, bro. And it's like, they don't understand that it's like, first off, I have no reason to trust Pfizer ever. Go to their Wikipedia page and you don't have a reason to trust them either. They have a very long
plus reasons, actually.
Yeah, they have a very long history of deceiving the public and doing all kinds of fuckery. So that's not enough. But to be like, trust this company that has a history of doing this and trust them with a timeline of like months is, I'm sorry, like it's no shit. But all these people were giving those takes when Trump was in office, and the second Biden gets into office, they forgot about all that, and they're just like, yeah, no, you know what? Like, we got to take this because it's like, it's super safe. It's so
don't take it, it's because you hate humanity.
If you don't take it,
bit aggressive, guys.
If you don't take it, it's because you're a Trump.
Yeah, you like
before it's like if you do take it, it's because you're a Trumper. It's just there's no fucking consistency at all.
Yeah,
but
and
again,
like, when it was Trump against Hillary, I was like 100% Trump over Hillary because she's a warmongering murderer. I was like, I'll at least give Trump the benefit that he turned around and just did the same shit. Anyways, but like I didn't support him, but I was like, over Hillary, yes.
I mean, that's the thing that a lot of people need to realize. Like, a lot of people just voted for Trump because it was like a protest vote, right? It was like, okay, well, we're frustrated with Obama. We're frustrated with the wars. Our material conditions are dog shit. So yeah, we'll take a chance on a fucking billionaire game show host who bankrupted a casino because you know what? And this is a point I made back when he did get in. I'm like, maybe he will fuck up so bad that it'll destroy the system. I don't know.
Well, that was kind of the thing. I was like, you know what? Maybe he will do something enough to get some like idiots, but I was like, that went away pretty quick.
Yeah, it became pretty apparent pretty early on that it's like, okay, no, this guy's just like, he's working with the deep state. Like,
yeah, it's like he's absolutely no different.
Yep. Yeah, my point is that like one of the biggest disappointments I had during the COVID era was how the left treated these people, not just with lockdowns, not just with like the mandates for one, when you know, you had so-called like comrades that were out here like shilling hard for like mandates, and to the point where they were literally saying like, oh my god, we need to, anyone who doesn't get vaccinated, let's round them up in camps and all this other shit.
Can I give a little bit of historical perspective as well on this?
For sure. Yeah. Sure.
During the like 20s to 30s in Nazi Germany, one of the things they did to dehumanize other people was specifically what liberals were doing. They were calling them the most vile insults. In Nazi Germany, you were called Jews, communists, socialists, Romani, Slavic. It was the same basic principles they were using. They degrade that person so that people will idly see by, and like you kind of just said, where it's like, oh, don't let him go to the hospital, let him die, all that stuff. You start seeing that stuff, and even we started seeing assisted suicide. Pretty sure you're going to start seeing the news talk about useless eaters, the mentally ill, that kind of stuff. And we already have the assisted suicide. So they've already set up the mechanism that they're going to try and put people through. Like you can kind of start to see it coming along. And it's like you have to have a very kind of like long-term outlook to really start to see it. But it's like once you see it, it starts all kind of coming together.
Yep. No,
right?
100%.
Like it's very much exactly the same principles they used, which is what's scary. And especially as a guy with a heart transplant, I'm one of those useless eaters, and I don't plan on going down easy. So,
yeah, but will you eat the bugs, Yeti? That's the big question.
Oh no, I've got a huge hydroponic garden next to me. I'd show you, but my curtains are up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the scariest part of I'm pretty sure the useless eaters quote is from Klaus Schwab's book. But he literally refers to like just the whole population is like useless eaters, and you're like, oh shit.
Well, it's originally a Joseph Goebbels thing.
Really? I didn't know that.
Well, and even so there's what's his name? I forget the guy in the States, I'll have to look up his name after, who coined the term public relations for like for a media spokesperson for politicians, literally stated he's just renaming a propagandist. Like that is the exact reason they came up with the new name. So anytime you hear about public relations, they're propagandists. That is what they are, right? So
I mean, you can kind of figure it out in the name though, right? Like public relations. Well, what does that mean? It means you're interfacing with the public. Well, what does that mean? Why would you be interfacing with the public? Well, you'd be interfacing with the public if you're trying to get them on board. You're trying to influence them. You're trying to change their mind about something.
Yeah. You're trying to put a positive spin. And it's not like any government's not going to do that or anybody trying to sell something. We're going to try and put a positive spin on it. But it's like you get to the outside of reality where it's like you're not even remotely trying to put a pause, like be anywhere realistic. You're just trying to say fluff so that people sound like they happy.
Yep. And I mean, at the end of the day, like, it's pretty easy to tell when. I'll say this forever. The biggest piece of advice I can give you guys, okay? If someone's talking to you and it feels like a sales pitch, if someone on social media that you don't know is trying to talk to you and it feels like a sales pitch, it's because it's a fucking sales pitch. That's it. Done. Like, it's the if you feel like someone's selling you some shit, it's probably because they're selling you some shit. And that's kind of what I want to get into for our next segment, because friend of the show, Nick from Revolutionary Blackout Network. Please follow him if you don't, and follow Revolutionary Blackout Network because they are fucking dope as hell. Let me just pull this up. Oh, I'm still on that. So, okay, this is how I'll do it. Sorry, bear with me, guys. This is my first time hosting this, so please be gentle. So, this is something I noticed during the pandemic era. I'm still seeing it, but with like different topics. We won't get into those different topics, but Revolutionary Blackout Network said here, all the people who call themselves socialists who advocated for mandates for this vaccine while doing propaganda for Big Pharma should never be taken seriously ever again. Big Pharma Socialists, what a crazy era that was. And it was a study basically that refers to basically miscategorization for the medical treatments. And this is something I noticed that I kind of referred to beforehand, that there's a lot of people that were comrades or like on the far left that were completely shilling for this shit. They were shilling for lockdowns. They were shilling for mandates. They were completely in lockstep with liberals when it came to all the like safe and effective blah, blah, blah propaganda. And that was really interesting to me because like, you had a whole group of people online who would correctly call out the capitalist apparatus. They would correctly call out problems with the capitalist system. But when it came to Big Pharma, they had blinders on. They had no analysis.
Yeah, it's like they completely forgot about capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
No, these are the good ones.
Yeah, these are the good corporations, guys. There's good corporations and bad corporations. And that's kind of the point I made here. I'm convinced that there's a branch of Big Pharma agents that LARP as comrades on social media. The 100% lockstep establishment adherence from so-called far-left accounts, quote-unquote, regarding COVID was unbelievably fucking weird. Zero analysis whatsoever when it comes to Big Pharma. And the interesting thing is like there's a bunch of examples in this thread that like completely prove my point. Yeah, Big Pharma is terrible, but that doesn't mean insulin or an inhaler or a COVID vaccine won't save your life. So tactics like this, where it's like we lump in two things that obviously will save your life, and then they attach the propaganda piece at the end. But like just looking at this thread, there's tons of these people. Like, are we anti-vax now? Is that why you have RFK on your show? Again, all Nick's criticizing is the mandates. He's not saying anything about the vax. And again, we here at INN are not making any definitive statements about the vaccine either. All I'm criticizing is the information surrounding it. So you see these people, all he's talking about is the mandates, like the policies behind this, where it's like you have to take this, otherwise a bunch of your rights are going away, right? So a bunch of people like this one, and you can tell this is a keeper because they got the Ukraine flag and they got every flag. They got the Israel flag. Like they got all the flags.
Every flag. We're just the world. We are the world. We are the children.
Yeah. And then so like one of them tweets a vaccine advocate. Like, I'm sorry, like if you identify as a vaccine advocate on Twitter, you need to go and fucking touch grass. You need to like play some World of Warcraft or some shit because you'll be less nerdy that way. Holy shit. Holy fucking shit. She's not even like, she doesn't even have any education in this field. She's just randomly a vaccine advocate. So here's the thing. Someone tagged this person and they're like, there's no study linked in the tweet. I mean, first off, you can find this study Googling in 5 seconds. You can just Google the title and then go to the article and you can find the study. It takes 5 fucking seconds, which I'm demonstrating right here. He's like, there's no big conspiracy to hide data on vaccine safety. ONS consistently pointed out that the raw numbers show more deaths in vaccinated because more people are vaccinated. And I'm like, but except the study is here and it's per 100K. So what that means is they're factoring in that there's more people in one group of people than the other. They're factoring that in and they're still arriving at this conclusion. So you see a lot of these fucking people, not just this, but a lot of big pharma socialists. Can you please look at the bigger picture that the medical establishment is pro-infection, making people sick, which makes them have to seek out medical care? You know, the for-profit healthcare system is involved. Why not question how deep? COVID causes vascular damage. First off, I don't know why they just attach that to the end of the tweet. It makes no fucking sense. But as you can see, it was just a slew of these. It's funny because like they're literally showing up and proving his point that like big pharma socialists are an actual thing, and that's kind of what I'm going to cover next.
Okay.
Because just give me a second here. Which one of these is it? I'm hoping the sound will work for this, but if it doesn't, well, I got rip, I guess. But yeah. Big Pharma uses influencer marketing.
What does the head of Harvard Psychiatry have in common with Kylie Jenner? A lot of people don't know that one of the favorite ways that drug companies market medications to doctors is through influencers. No, this is not Kylie Jenner. These are the leading academics in the psychiatric institution. Usually they bring them in by collaborating with them on drug company studies. When these doctors help the drug companies with their studies, it pads their CVs with multiple publications and speaking arrangements, and this really helps them with their career. Because of this quid pro quo,
hold on.
a lot of these academic psychiatrists go on to say very favorable things about these drugs to their colleagues because they don't want to rock the boat. They want to keep that collaboration.
Oh shit. Hold on.
So advantageous to them.
I got the wrong window open. My bad, guys. Sorry. Okay. Is that it? Yes, it is. Okay. My bad, guys. Here we go.
All good, all good.
What does the head of Harvard Psychiatry have in common?
Can you hear that okay?
A lot of people don't know that one of the favorite ways that drug companies market medications to doctors is through influencers. No, this is not Kylie Jenner. These are the leading academics in the psychiatric institution. Usually they bring them in by collaborating with them on drug company studies. When these doctors help the drug companies with their studies, it pads their CVs with multiple publications and speaking arrangements, and this really helps them with their career. Because of this quid pro quo, a lot of these academic psychiatrists go on to say very favorable things about these drugs to their colleagues because they don't want to rock the boat. They want to keep that collaboration going strong with the drug company because it's so advantageous to them. This method of marketing is super dangerous because the truth is usually those people who rise to the top.
They're saying there's no sound.
Helped along by pharmaceutical companies.
Audio very low.
Maybe try turning it up the video on your end.
let me figure this out. Okay. Wait. Okay, people. How do you do the sound? No, we'll do a replay. Just give me 1 sec, guys. It is my first time doing this.
What if, can you change the volume on the actual video and see if that works?
So guys, is it no sound or low sound?
Low
You guys,
sound.
okay. Are you hearing low sound yourself, or?
I'm hearing it pretty low on my end too.
Okay. All right, let me see here. Don't worry, guys. We're we're in this together. Okay. New scene. Because it might just be playing from one audio output. Okay. Let me know. Let me know if that
What does
works.
the head of Harvard Psychiatry have in common?
Still sounds pretty low on my end.
Fuck. Okay. Damn. I don't actually know how to, like, what's the deal with Restream? Okay. Sometimes recordings just suck. No, it's playing perfectly on my end. I just don't know why the share feature for this is fucking not working. It's kind of annoying. Anyway, it's okay. Well, I'll work with that later and we'll figure it out. But basically, what this is saying is Big Pharma uses influencer marketing. And what that is, yeah, we can just return to here. Basically, what that is, if you didn't get that from the article, is that they literally hire influencers. Like, they literally hire fucking influencers to... Oh shit, I forgot to put on some music. Hold on. There we go. Make it low though. There we go. Basically what that means is Big Pharma hires actual... Can you play with captions? I'm pretty sure it has subtitles. Sorry guys, I'll figure this out for next time. But basically what the article means is that Big Pharma hires influencers to promote, like, to basically promote products. They hire influencers to promote certain drugs, to advocate for certain, like, Big Pharma ideals. So influencers, as in, like, popular streamers, Instagram people. So, like, the industry literally has people working for them, in, like, a professional capacity to advance their agendas. And that's kind of what I think is going on here. In no uncertain terms. I think the reason we saw so many, like, apparent comrades who are 100% like regurgitating the same talking points that, like, the establishment and liberals were regurgitating is because they're bought and paid for. And I've had an assumption for a while now that a lot of these popular far left accounts are probably owned by either, like, a department agency of some kind, or my biggest hypothesis is that they're people working at the behest of Big Pharma. Because they'll criticize capitalism, they'll talk about revolutionary action, blah, blah, blah. I saw one, shout out to Misty, another INN member, but she shared something really funny a while ago, where there's this one, like, popular, like, Marxist account who was basically saying wear a mask is going to defeat capitalism. Like, it's they're literally just attaching like the pharma agendas onto like things that they know that especially younger generations are really identifying with, like working class solidarity and critique of capitalism and, you know, seizing the means of production and shit like that. They're trying to attach like big pharma initiatives on top of that. So that's kind of my point. And so if you guys see that out in the wild on the Bird app or on, you know, Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and it's kind of weird because like these people are saying all the right things, but they seem to like be completely blinded, have no analysis when it comes to big pharma. It's probably because big pharma literally pays people to influence the public online. They pay prominent people. They pay people who are popular on the internet to promote their agendas. And that's a real thing that happens. And they pay a lot of money to do it. You know why? Because they make a lot of money back. Just look at how much money they made during the pandemic. They made record profits, like billions upon billions, just money raining down. And a lot of that, I feel at least, was due to the amount of like public pressure that everybody got. The amount of like lockstep, like, okay, we're all on the same page here. We all want you to do X, Y, and Z. And everybody else felt like there was such a consensus that, you know, the problems with human beings were social animals. There's a lot of pluses that come with that, such as effective empathy and, you know, working together to achieve a common goal. That's still one of the most like enjoyable aspects about being a social animal. But on the downside, you're vulnerable to herd mentality. You're vulnerable to, you know, that feeling of like the rest of your tribe is doing something. So you kind of have to dive in and do that thing that your tribe is doing. That's a weakness. And that's a weakness we need to be aware of. We need to be cognizant of that weakness. That's all I'm saying. And let's see. This is gonna be a spicy one. This is gonna be a really spicy one. Okay. You know what? Actually, in hindsight, that might be too spicy. You know what? No, we're going for it. Fuck it. Sorry in advance, Indy. Leroy! Okay. Oh my god, it's still in the same fucking... Okay. Give me one sec, guys. I swear I'm a professional. I'm just not used to, doing the restream thing. Okay. 29-year-old influencer who is paid by Big Pharma to promote the COVID shots on social media has slammed the treatment after cardiologist told her that this treatment caused her recent heart attack. So let's look at this for a bit. Because this was something that was shared with me by a fellow comrade, and they told me to look at it and give a critical analysis. So let's look at this, because I will be the first to admit, for all the correct critiques and all the correct conclusions that people arrive at, there still is a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of misunderstandings. It's because this period of time was very confusing. It was confusing to all of us. It was confusing as fuck to me. And I'll say this much as well. Anyone who doesn't doubt, like, my personal trajectory when it comes to the pandemic era, go back and look at my tweets from 2020. I was 100% on board. I was saying all the same things, trust the science, we got to do the lockdowns, blah, blah, blah. I was saying all the talking points, right? It was a very slow awakening for me because things kept not making sense. And I kept calling these out and I didn't get any explanations for them. Like when stuff just didn't make any sense. Like when all of our officials are saying, like, you know, get this treatment and it's going to prevent you getting the disease. And then it just wasn't true. But then they're still talking about the mandates because the mandates help protect people from getting the disease. But like fucking, like they're not doing that. Like it was a very slow, like I was forcibly red pilled. You could say that much.
Fair enough.
So let's see.
When I remember... Oh, I'm getting feedback all of a sudden.
Oh, really?
Wait, how about now? No, this is better.
Okay, cool.
I was gonna say I forgot what I was gonna say, to be honest.
It's all good.
Oh, right. Sorry.
There you
6
go.
months after the vaccine release, both the big companies added myocarditis to their warning labels. Because I made a big deal about it and got shit on by people for it, but I was like, I've had a heart transplant for myocarditis. I know what this shit will do.
Yes, absolutely. It's literally scarring of the heart. Like it's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And the weird thing was back in the day, you had all the media outlets and all the establishment liberals and even a lot of the far left people saying like, "Oh no, it's a conspiracy theory. It doesn't cause this, blah blah blah." And then they admit it, and it's like, okay, well, fuck. Why are you guys fine with saying it now after millions of people have gotten this? I know why. Because we live under a society that puts profit before human life. Not just the States, Canada too, Europe too. Fucking any capitalist country. The prime aim will always be profit before human life. And if you don't believe me, look at all the fucking wars. All those go to line the pockets of the military industrial complex. Those are human beings. Those aren't just like meme people. Those aren't just people in a video game. Those are actual humans that are dying for someone to get fucking rich.
Yep.
This is going to happen in any capitalist society ever. It will always repeat itself. Profit will always be the primary driver. And I will say this to my dying breath. If I lived in Cuba instead of Canada, I would be the first person in line to get the COVID shot. You know why? Because a government like Cuba, I trust to actually develop a product that's going to put the people's needs before profit. Shit, even in China, I would be the first one in line. I'm not saying that I have anything against vaccines. I think they're a miracle of science. I'm not saying I have anything against COVID vaccines. I think they're necessary. What I'm saying is, when you live under a capitalist system, the profit is always going to come before the needs of the people. Which is why, if you go look up the statistics for Cuba, because of the embargo, they couldn't actually use other vaccines. They had to make their own. And the one they made, surprisingly, doesn't have these fucking complications. There's no hesitancy with the Cuban population. There's no adverse effects to a great degree with the Cuban population. And as far as I'm concerned, and as far as I know, it's very effective. That's the difference when you live under a society that doesn't put profit before people. Also,
you're right.
Also, not for nothing, but they got a fucking cancer vaccine. Like, what are we doing?
Lung
what are we
cancer.
doing? They have a lung cancer vaccine.
Like,
I'm sitting here and
I think they have two.
Yeah. I'm sitting here and I'm like, why did I even quit smoking? I could just go live in Cuba and I'd be fine.
We'll pick up some Spanish.
No, smoking causes a myriad other illnesses. So it's, even if you get the lung cancer vaccine, like, it's fucking up your heart, it's fucking up your everything. So it's a habit you should probably drop. But lung cancer vaccine, that's insane. And if you're asking yourself, well, I live in a very wealthy country, where's my lung cancer vaccine? The answer is, it's nowhere, because there's no profit in curing cancer under capitalism. Period. Anyway, let's look at this story. I'm going to give it a critical eye here. Okay, so here it is. Update. MRI on April 23rd, 2024. Confirmed heart attack at 29. I was not paid by Big Pharma to promote the vaccine. The news outlet that published that article is clickbaiting you. Oh. Hold on. Okay, so there's a post here stating Okay, let's see what this is about. Update, MRI on April 23rd, 2024. Confirmed heart attack at 29. I was not paid by Big Pharma to promote the vaccine. News outlet that published that article is clickbaiting you. Attention, cardiologists are now saying my heart problem is more than likely a result of the COVID treatment. For reference, I am a healthy 29-year-old who has played sports her entire life. I live a healthy lifestyle. Last Monday, I was admitted to a hospital where 3 EKGs showed signs of heart attack. I was rushed for an angiogram, and to our surprise, no blockage or heart attack showed. I have myopericarditis. So myopericarditis, as I understand, is not just myocarditis, but it's also an inflammation of the pericardium around your heart. Here's a photo of my wrist where they performed the angiogram. This was a painful procedure. I was awake. I am feeling better now, but I am angry. I'm angry because I had to get this in order to keep my job. I'm angry because tons of 20-year-old, something-year-old athletes now have heart problems. So part of this is false. I will call that out. Okay? She is saying herself she wasn't paid to promote this. So that's incorrect. But she is still speaking out that because of this, according to her medical health professionals, this gave her problems. So, do with that what you will, everybody. Again, one way or another, I'm just saying, look into this. I will say, the only reason I am critical on these sort of things, how we handle pandemics, the treatments from pandemics, the only reason I'm critical of them personally is because I want us to get better. I want better vaccines. I want better pandemic procedures. I want better public health procedures. I want us to do better because we didn't do that fucking good this time around. And if something else comes, which it probably will, we've all seen the rumblings of bird flu, which we'll see if that becomes a thing or just end up like monkeypox where everybody talks about it for 2 weeks and then it stops existing entirely. Regardless, I would like to see us do better. We need to do better. We absolutely need to do better.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, and we need to have discussions.
Yes. We need to be able to talk
to people, right? Like there is so much that needs to be discussed and nobody who's willing to have discussions about it.
Because I feel like, sadly, even on the far left, most people are probably reactionary. They're probably very reactionary.
Oh, yeah, of course.
They want to keep the status quo going.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to this final thing about the pandemic stuff, and then I have some closing thoughts about it. I felt like it was an apt time in the light of, lots of bird flu stuff and everybody like kind of trying to, I see people kind of floating the bird flu thing. And so like, if it is the case that we're about to be in the midst of another pandemic, I feel like we need to start asking very hard questions. So this is another big pharma. I don't know if he's a socialist, but this Debunk the Funk guy. So 3 years ago, he made a video. I'll learn to do this again, I promise. But he made a video called "No, the Coronavirus Still Was Not Made in a Lab." And just going to give you guys an update on that. Damning new report found that COVID-19 virus most likely leaked from a Chinese lab. And that the U.S. bears responsibility for pumping tens of millions of dollars into high-risk research on extremely infectious viruses at a facility with weak safety protocols. The analysis by Alina Chan, a Harvard and MIT molecular biologist, was published as a New York Times guest essay in NY Post reports. And this Pat the Irishman account was about to say what I was about to say. Do you remember when social media accounts were suspended for saying such blasphemy? This isn't new. We all knew this. We need Nuremberg trials. I mean, I don't know about Nuremberg trials, but
I'm calling them Nuremberg 2.0.
Nuremberg 2.0, yeah.
Actually, if you go back on my Twitter feed, I've been saying it for about 2 years now.
Yeah, I mean, like, here's the thing. Here's the fucking reality, right? Like, we need to have more conversations on this. Because I don't want us to fuck this up again. Because the thing is, we did fuck it up. Because a shitload of people died. Okay, a shitload of people died, and I have loved ones who are injured because of certain treatments they were forced to take to keep their jobs. So we need to do better than this. If this happens again, we can't just make up rules. Okay, we can't just fucking meme it. Like, we can't just vibes, bro, a pandemic. Okay, we can't just vibes another pandemic. We can't just make shit up and pull shit out of our ass and be like, yeah, maybe like 6 foot distancing and like maybe okay, if you wear a gorilla suit, like, you won't get sick. Like, if you go into a restaurant and you sit down, you can take off your mask, but if you're standing up, you can keep your mask on. Like, we can't fucking do this again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's the thing. It's so obviously was hypocritical for things that people are just like, no, we're not. I'm not falling for that. I refuse. And it's what's the word I'm looking for? Like you were talking about the discussions. Like, we have to be able to just figure out what we're going to do next time. Because like you said, this time clearly did not work.
And that was here's the thing. That was for a virus with like a 99%-ish survival rate.
Yeah.
What if the next one
especially if you're healthy.
Yeah. What if the next one is like SARS? And if you guys don't remember SARS killed people to fuck dead in like 48 hours. Okay? I contracted that back in the day, and I can tell you, I was at the peak of my health. I was like an adolescent teen, and it fucked me up bad. Okay? If we get a virus that has the the virulence of SARS, we need strategies that actually make sense. We need procedures that actually make sense. We need clear communications on treatments that make fucking sense, or way more people are going to die. And our institutions aren't going to care because we just saw what they did. They did everything. COVID was the biggest wealth transfer in the history of the world. Let that sink in for a second. Okay? The rich had no ills. They had nothing to worry about. Okay? Because a lockdown to the bourgeoisie is nothing. They don't need to leave their house. They're making their millions and their billions just sitting there doing nothing. None of these policies affected the rich and powerful. But if we have another...
They never do.
No, they don't. And even still, we can see, especially with like Boris Johnson and these other folks, that like even AOCIA, if you call her.
Well,
None of these people...
Penny here in Alberta, he was pulling the same crap.
They don't even follow the policies that they tell people to go by. They don't care because they don't feel like the rules apply to them. So if this comes around again, if this comes around a second time and it's a worse virus, if we're not able to adapt and learn from the mistakes of this pandemic, a fuckload of people are going to die. A fuckload of people died from COVID because we mishandled it this bad and because our capitalist society put profit before safety.
Yeah.
Way more people are going to die next time.
And flu viruses can already be very potentially harmful. My heart transplant at 14, I got a flu virus sometime in 96. I got diagnosed by December of 96. My heart was the size of a basketball. I was transplanted 6 months later in May. I ended up on life support. I was on an ECMO machine that was meant for babies, and I was 13 at the time. Like that, the actual viruses can do a shit ton of damage to you.
Yes.
And like, right? So like, that's already why, like, when COVID came around, I'm in heart transplant groups. I started to see an uptick of people that were like needed heart transplants like urgently.
Yeah.
Right? Like they got diagnosed and a month later they were transplanted. For context, I've needed my second transplant for about a year and a half. And because I'm healthy, I'm a low level, like bottom of the list kind of, because I'm at home. I'm not on an LVAD or anything, right? So, but like these people can get really sick really fast. And that's where it gets really scary, because hearts and organs don't come up really quickly. Like it's not like, oh, a week later you have a heart. My buddy had a kidney transplant. I think he got it about 4 months ago, but he was waiting, and like he could find his own donor for like a year plus, right? So it's, yeah, there is.
I know. I knew someone who had they had Hep C, right? So for those who don't know, hepatitis C is a virus that attacks your liver, and it causes scarring, which eventually results in a medical condition called cirrhosis of the liver, where your liver is not functioning properly. And when your liver doesn't function properly, a lot of things start going real wonky in your body. He was on a transplant list for 4 years, and he went from like okay. He went from okay, but like he had the virus still, so it was still ravaging his body. He went from okay and just normal and functioning to in the ICU. And that's when he got his transplant. He was throwing up blood because of when your liver's borked, you get something called varices, which is the like the pressure of your blood pumping, because your liver isn't like filtering blood properly. It starts to create like these veins in your throat. So they were bursting. So he was throwing up blood from burst veins, vessels in his throat. And that was 4 years. But yeah, it's
That's
not
just,
like,
that's so hard to list, like hear someone going through that when we think about the technology we have, that we really shouldn't be at that point.
I mean, at this point, we should probably wait for China to fucking like.
Can you guys just come and help us out, please?
It's like China developed a way to fucking grow an organ in a day, but at what cost? Like, that's it. But yeah. My bandmate, drummer guy of 30 years, close friend, had a heart transplant and kidney from COVID damage. Yeah, and I'll say that too.
See, that was the thing. COVID is actually very damageful too.
Yes.
I don't know why I'm getting so much back. Sorry.
It's okay.
Just my mic is a bit.
But
it's
this is the point I've tried to make to both sides of the COVID thing or whatever. You can't have it both ways. Like, okay, so the damaging artifact of COVID is the spike protein. The same spike protein that's in the treatment. So you can't argue that the virus is harmless and then say the treatment is like this horrible, like death-killing whatever. On the other side, you also can't argue, okay, that, you know, the treatment is perfectly harmless and the virus is this giant death-killing thing. The reality that a lot of people don't want to admit and don't want to accept is that the virus and the treatment are probably both doing damage. That's the reality. That's the most likely scenario.
I completely agree, 100%.
And that's troublesome, because you're essentially saying, like, okay, if you don't want the damage from this virus, get this treatment that potentially might give you the same damage, or you'll get both and just it'll stack on top of it, right? So again, we have to do better than this. This is not adequate. This should not be acceptable for any human being on Earth. And anybody who's trying to carry water for Big Pharma, it doesn't matter what they have in their bio. It doesn't matter what kind of like cool socialist memes they're promoting. Okay, if they're trying to carry water for this sort of bullshit, okay, you need to push back. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, and you're right. Like, there's got to be some pushback on people. Otherwise, like, we're just gonna be screwed. That's like, we're just gonna end up as like slaves.
Of course, and not for nothing, but you know, people need to realize that the end result of capitalism is and always will be fascism. That's always going to be the end goal. And listen, the ruling class isn't stupid, guys. They know the masses aren't happy, right? Like, I guarantee the ruling class is probably preparing for some kind of working class revolution, because they know it's going to get to a point where people are going to be like, I've had enough. And they
have you ever looked up the billionaire bunkers?
I did a while ago.
Yeah, those are insane.
Billionaire bunkers. Let me look this up. Do you have a link or anything? Maybe we can check this out.
No, you just look up billionaire bunkers and you'll find them. They've got like bunkers that are like 8 stories down. They've got full hydroponic systems, solar technology, all this crazy stuff. And they've been building these for years. So they've known, and like a lot of billionaires know what America's doing. So they're fully under the thing that America's going to get bombed at some point. So they're preparing for that.
Billionaires' survivalist bunkers go absolutely bonkers with fiery moats and water cannons.
Oh, they've got like full-on AI guns. Dude, it's just crazy.
God. Okay, how do I exit out of this? Holy shit. Oh my god. An escape tunnel. A 400 square foot Platinum Series modular steel bunker from Atlas Survival Shelters. Okay, so we're literally at Fallout now, guys. We're making vaults.
And this has been 10 years plus. Right? So what we really have to do is, for no particular reason, is find out where the air vents that go into those. Yeah. No particular reason. I'm just saying it might be a good idea.
Knowing me, they'd be like, why does it smell like farts?
Who keeps farting in their air tunnel?
I would just fart in the air tunnel all day. That's all I do. I just fart in the air tunnel. I'd just be like, what are you doing here? I'm the billionaire farter. That's what I do. I crop dust. I'm the billionaire crop duster, guys. That's my revolutionary action. What, you've never read Lenin? He clearly said the proletariat must fart up the billionaires.
He said poop on their chimneys or something like that.
Yeah, I'm the bad Santa. Instead of presents, you just get poop particles.
Yeah, that's fine.
At the highest end, I hear there are a couple of big bunkers being built in the United States in the $5 to $10 million range. Oh my god!
Under Oprah and what's that Facebook guy's Android?
Mark Zuckerberg, the lizard.
There are places on in Hawaii. They have huge bunkers underneath them.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Let's see this. The shelter can withstand a blast 1 mile from ground zero, says Corby. But that was almost incidental. The client.
Well, and you think Pearl Harbor, that would be a likely place for a nuke. So.
Yeah, like, holy shit.
Is it alright if I jump away for like 1 minute?
For sure.
Cool.
The bells and whistles actually can double as everyday fun. According to Corby, friends of the owner might enjoy a flag football game on jet skis, dodging the water cannon's ability to lock in and blow them off the skis. A mind-boggling adult Nintendo game. This is fucking insane. Okay, so we have billionaires literally building like apocalypse bunkers. Which, like, I'm sorry, that should speak volumes to how down bad we are, guys. That should speak multitudes to how down bad we are. Because once the billionaires are making contingency plans, for like just in case shit hits the fan, the fault life is no life. Once we're literally at Fallout where we're making vaults, like, I'm sorry, we gotta change course. Because, like, we shouldn't be preparing for the world to be doused in nuclear hellfire because of entirely preventable actions. There is no nuclear war happening right now. There is no war happening right now at all. Not a world war, at least. There's plenty of conflicts going on right now, all of which could be prevented if we dismantled the military-industrial complex, but I digress. Nobody should be preparing just in case a war happens. The fact that we live in a society where this is like something that is scaring people is deeply, deeply unnatural. There shouldn't be bunkers. The rich and powerful shouldn't be prepping in case, like, the world gets nuked. That shouldn't be a fucking thing. Okay? If you're not awake by now, wake the fuck up. Okay? It's time to grab a torch or grab a pitchfork. Because this is getting to, like, are you fucking kidding me levels. Putin ain't bluffing? I know he's not bluffing. And God bless him for it. Okay? God bless him for it. Putin in China, okay? Like, here's the thing. The West, we all in the West, not us, because obviously we have no power, but our leaders in the West, they're causing all of this. They forced Russia and China into this alliance. They're forcing the rest of the world to basically align against the West because they're fucking doing this. It's nobody else. Our leaders are the people doing this. We could be in space already. Okay? We could be doing the real life version of Alpha Centauri. You know, we could be finding another planet, inhabiting it, you know, finding some good, like, I don't know, some good alien weed to smoke some alien weed.
I want my holodeck.
Yeah, me too. We could be in Deep Space Nine, right? We could be wagering to sell the bar. But instead, we're stuck here making bunkers because we are so fucking scuffed over cooperating on a geopolitical level that everybody's worried about World War III instead of worried about, like, how can we make the material conditions of everybody on Earth better? Well, countries like China are focusing on this, but over here in the West, we're like just continually poking the bear. And now you see that the billionaires are making bunkers, probably because they know that something might happen from the continual poking of the fucking bear. It's sickening and it's weird.
Mm-hmm.
I got something way better for you guys. This happened very recently. It's gonna be fun times. So here's Biden shitting and farting. So once again, here's Biden shitting and farting. So Biden did a big poo. He did a very big poo, as you can see. That's the guy that liberals are going to tell Americans to vote for. The guy that's taking a big dump in his diapers. And the other guy, the other guy probably wears diapers too. Let's be real. Trump probably wears diapers. He's probably on a shitload of Adderall. But that's going to be election 2024. Which shitting and farting old guy who is totally okay with World War do you want to vote for? Do you want the guy with mean tweets or the guy who doesn't know what to tweet because he's like acting like a Bethesda character and walking into walls, and like his handlers just tweet for him, and they're nice tweets because his handlers do it for him, or the other shitting and farting guy who's typing on his own, but everything's in all caps for some reason. I still don't get that. He's like that kid on like fucking Counter-Strike who keeps getting clipped, or that guy in like a Doom Deathmatch from back in the day where he keeps getting clipped and he's just like, if I type in all caps, it'll mean more. Like that's Trump. That's what he's doing. He types everything on Truth Social in like all caps. That's your choices, America. Which World War III diaper baby do you want? Do you want the World War III diaper baby who is like obviously not really all there, or the World War III diaper baby who is possibly too much there? Are you going to get a candidate that's going to do anything for your material conditions or prevent World War III? No. They both love World War III. And that's how you know they love World War III.
More than anything.
Yep. They love money. They love power. And with all people who have narcissistic traits, they love control. That's the most important. That's the most important piece of the pie here. They need control. They need it by all means necessary.
Yeah, Newsom would be horrible.
I feel like that's, I don't know. Do you kind of get the vibe that they're gonna like maybe run him like last minute? That like maybe they're gonna like retire Biden and run like Gavin Newsom? Because I kind of get that vibe a little bit. A little bit, yeah.
They're just gonna go right off the board and put in Meghan Markle.
Meghan Markle. Oh my god, I'm sorry. I don't know what everybody feels about Meghan Markle, but everything about her gives me like massive red flags. I don't know why. She just gives me like
seems like a shitty person.
Just gives me like major narcissist vibes. Just a lot of like the weird damage control. The way she seems to have Harry on a fucking leash. And if you guys don't know why we know so much about Meghan Markle, it's because as Canadians, we're still kind of like tethered to the crown in a lot of ways. I love the BBC though. Loved growing up on Blackadder. If you haven't watched the show Blackadder, you gotta fucking watch that show because it's one of the best shows ever made. But yeah, like I don't know, Meghan Markle, like she gives me like Illuminati vibes. Like if there's a member, if there's really an Illuminati, she's definitely a member. She definitely went to the what is the island with the big owl? What do they call it? Fucking the builder.
Bohemian Grove.
Yeah, Bohemian Grove. The shit that Alex Jones definitely covered and wasn't.
Actually, the wooden owl actually goes back to the Khazarian Mafia, which is like around the 1400s.
Isn't that representative of the god Moloch? Is that what the owl is supposed to represent? Moloch. Gotcha. Yep. Yeah.
Sacrificial god.
Yeah. Yeah, she's definitely been there. She's done the the spirit parties or whatever. They have something where they drink blood. I don't know. These people are unhinged. Like they're deranged.
Oh, these people are disgusting.
Like
if they're not actually Satanists, they're about as close as you can get.
Yeah. And like, I'm sorry, but still, even right now, we still don't have Epstein's fucking client list. And I feel like that's probably because the people in power are on Epstein's client list. Like, Occam's razor a little bit on this one.
Mhm.
Yeah. Anyway, we're coming up on the 2-hour mark, and that's all I wanted to cover tonight. Yeti, did you have anything you wanted to maybe float our way?
I'd like to thank everyone for the comments, and especially the Orc comment. I much appreciate that one. One of the guys said, or someone in the chat was talking about, they're going to make me into a character, essentially.
Nice. Owls aren't supposed to be seen and indigenous no one's seeing them. Is the person who disappeared, or is that a different royal? Okay, yeah.
You know what you don't see in the owls? Their legs. They're like this freaking long. You ever see them like stand up? Their legs are huge.
Yeah, I never did. I never did because I lived in Toronto for 10 years, but now that I live on Lake Simcoe, I see owls all the time, and I didn't know how fucking big they are. I also didn't know how big ravens are for that. Ravens are huge. They're very big birds.
We call them Tarzan turkeys up in Fort Mac.
Yeah, they're huge. And it's like, and if you're thinking, well, at least they're not intelligent, newsflash, they're one of the smartest animals on Earth.
Oh, it's amazing. So they'll take, like, if they want something broken open, they'll drop it on the road. So a car will hit it, and then they'll go grab it.
Yeah. If you guys want to, like, get tripped the fuck out about ravens, just go into YouTube and type raven test. These people, like, put, like, these advanced tests. They're, like, insane puzzles. They're puzzles that most people can't fucking figure out. And the raven will, like, look at it for 5 minutes and then just figure out the fucking puzzle. Like they can understand, like, water, like water variances, and they're like calculating shit. It's like the meme of the lady with all the calculations. They're doing that for these tests, and they're like, oh, I see. So if I drop a bunch of pebbles into this thing to raise the water level, I can get the treat. They literally do that. Like, it's fucked. But yeah.
It's amazing.
Oh, hey. What's up, kitty? You want to say hi? You want to say hi? Come here. 1 second. Oh, my kitty's coming to say hi. Say hi, Simone.
We have a couple little kittens here at the moment. My sister-in-law is down.
Oh. Yeah. We got this new one. She's what are we doing? Are we just hanging out on the chair? What are we doing?
I think she bolted. She's like, I'm out.
No, she's still there.
Oh.
Both of them like kind of just hang out on the chair a lot of the time. They'll just chill there and like just hang out on the chair. I don't know why. One of them does nothing but is that the other one? Here's a bigger one. You guys might remember
is that Mrs. Himbo?
Yeah, that is. But this is what used to be our kitten. If you guys saw me on Twitter, and now she's obviously not a kitten. She's a large cat.
I love cats so much.
Yeah, I never really was a cat person, and then we found one underneath our house, and then I became a cat person because I don't know, they're fucking cool.
Yeah, you don't own cats. Cats just find you, and then they own you.
Yeah.
And then you just pick up their poop.
The cat, what is it? The cat distribution system? Because, like, that happened our whole life, right? Because, like, growing up, we just found, my sister heard meowing, and we just found a cat, like, under an abandoned house or something. I forgot, like, where we actually found it, but it was just a kitten, and it was abandoned, so we picked it up. Mm-hmm. And then here, when we moved in here, like, a little later, it was last year, last summer, but we just heard like meowing here and there, And then finally, like the dog was losing my dog was losing his shit. He was literally alerting us like there's an animal in in pain here. There's an animal that needs assistance. And he kept barking at this one spot. So we eventually looked, and we looked like underneath the house, and there's this little kitten, and there's like no mom nearby, no nothing. There's just this kitten. So we go give her a bit of food, and she like eats everything in sight. So obviously she was probably starving, right?
Yeah.
And then she climbs up my wife's arm. And then at that time, like my buddies were joking. It's like, oh God, you have a cat now. It's over. And I'm like, no, we're gonna see, blah blah blah. And it's like in my head, I was like, we have a cat now.
We definitely have a cat.
Yeah. But yeah, it's crazy how it happened. And yeah, like fuck, now we have 2 cats, and they're both office cats. Like they both hang out with me while I work like every day. One of them sits on my lap, the other parks out like behind my monitor, and they both just like hang out and watch the window. And yeah, I guess TLDR cats are pretty fucking cool. But
oh, they're amazing animals.
I mean, yeah, cats and dogs. I guess you could say I'm bi for cats and dogs. I like them both. I'm pet curious, if you will. If you will. But
I actually have my Cane Corso's ashes are just up there in my studio.
Oh, dude, you had a Cane Corso? That is literally the dog we want to get next. It's my favorite type of dog. Like
I called them Don Vito Corleone.
Nice.
I called him the dog father.
The dog father. Yeah, I'm a huge Mastiff guy. They're my favorite breed of dogs. They're loyal. They're friendly. They're like pit bulls, but without like the rap sheet. If you know what I mean.
Pretty much.
All you got to do, all you got to do is be mindful that they have like a very strong like protect the home thing. So like if you're gonna have people come in uninvited, you gotta like it's kind of like vampires. You gotta invite them in. You gotta fucking like. You can't like, because if someone just bursts into your house and you have a Mastiff, there's a good chance that guy's gonna die. Like you can't just. You gotta facilitate. Like, okay, this person's okay. They can come in the house, but yeah, they're beautiful dogs. Especially Cane Corsos. They're gorgeous, and they got like the Batman shit going on. You know, with the ears. Yeah. Oh my god.
I left my ears intact.
Nice.
So, but it's funny. It's I was just a joke. I was like, people are gonna break in. They're gonna get Vito first, and then behind Vito is gonna be me. It's like, oh, I don't know what's worse.
Yeah, I mean, we got a Mastiff now, and it's like the cool thing about owning a Mastiff is like you don't really have to worry about. I don't worry about locking my door. If someone breaks into my house, like that's on you, man. If anything, I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna have to clean up a lot of shit and call the cops. Because like if you fucking break into my house, you've got like a Mastiff to deal with, and that guy's gonna end you in very, very short time, and then I have to scold him for eating a human. So that's all that's gonna happen. I don't
might
need
just
a gun.
slobber them to death though first.
Oh god, dude, the drool. I call them the droolsicles. You know, like the drool that from their jowls, like both the jowls, they got those like it's just strings of drool.
Oh, yeah.
And they're just walking around, and then they come say hi to you, and you don't notice it at first, and then you look down, and your fucking pants are just covered in this like gooey shit, and you're just like, thanks for that, buddy. Yeah, you literally get slimed, or like you have company over and they come over with that shit. I had one person like get a little sick for a bit. They're just like, oh, that's really gross, and I'm like, I'm sorry, he's gonna keep doing it. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, it's like,
And I had to explain. I'm like, yeah. So like normal dogs, the saliva just like hangs out in their mouth. In mastiffs, it pulls up in their jowls, and then it just dribbles out the jowls, and that's why it looks like a slime walrus right now.
Yeah.
Which is all I can say for a mastiff.
Do you know what the jowls are actually made for on dogs? It's to drain blood away. So if they're in fighting and they bite somebody and it bleeds, it'll drain away from the eyes so that they don't get blinded and stuff.
Which tracks for mastiffs, because fun fact, if you guys didn't know this, those dogs were bred not for fighting, they were bred for war.
Yeah, and hunting boar.
Yep, hunting boar. There's a breed of mastiff in South Africa. They breed for literally fucking up lions. It's called a Bora Bora.
Oh, the dojo. Oh, okay. I was thinking it was the dojo, but
Dojo Argentino too. But they have a Bora Bora. It's about the size of an English Mastiff, and they sicken on lions. It literally chases after lions and fucks them up. Like, if you guys want some context for how powerful a Mastiff is, like, these kind of dogs will fight lions and they'll win. Like, and in ancient Rome, they had Cane Corsos, or like, the ancient breed was called the Molossus. The Molossus, like that's why they call the Molosser type dogs. It was a Molossus, but it's a descendant. It's the ancestor of the Cane Corso. But they literally would strap armor on these dogs and send them out into war. They would just charge like groups of people and just fucking nuke them.
Well, and they'd go under the horses or elephants, and they would gut them. And the horse would be done.
And another thing, everybody talks about like a pit bull's bite force, but the second strongest bite force on Earth is actually a Cane Corso, with its 500 something psi. The first one is Kangal. I'm not.
Oh, the Russian Kangal.
Yeah,
those things are huge.
Yeah,
they make a Cane Corso look like a midget.
Yeah, they're huge. But yeah, Cane Corso is the second strongest bite force. So, like, once that thing has a hold of you, like, your bones are gone. Like, you're done. You're not getting away.
Yeah.
Thankfully, they're unbelievably loyal, and they're super sweethearts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, guys,
this has been a great show. Thank you.
This has been a really great show. I've enjoyed myself tremendously. Thanks for filling in for Greg, my dude. This was super fun. On the horizon, we might be working on another kind of show. We're gonna have to talk about it a bit more, but might cover some more Canadian stuff. Like, what's
for those
the
that
deal?
don't know, we're both Canadians.
We're both evil Canadians, eh?
Just blame us.
Yeah, just blame us, especially me, because I'm streaming from the Maritime. No, I'm kidding. Fucking, I don't know if I'd survive over there. And the Maritimes is basically Canadian Australia. For people who don't know, it's Canadian Florida, I guess. That's the best way I can refer to it. It's like Far Harbor. You know that Fallout expansion, guys? Far Harbor. That's the Maritimes for us. PEI, all that area. Just like you go out there, like there might be a dragon. But yeah, guys. Again, thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. I'm Snow Himbo, and this is my co-host Yeti Jesus. And yeah, everybody have a beautiful Thursday night. And don't ever forget, keep questioning everything. And don't play chess with a raven, because they might win.